What's up, YouTube? Back with another video, another mobility day. Always showing you guys mobility sessions because there's just not enough mobility. You can never have too much mobility, or I should say it's almost impossible to do too much mobility. You know, you can do too much lifting. You know, too much lifting, you end up snapping your shit. Too much mobility, you heal that snappage, you prevent that snappage from happening, etc., etc. But as some of you may or may not know, back in October and November, my SI joint was kind of fucked pretty much. I couldn't squat heavy for shit, I couldn't deadlift for shit, and it was just due to misalignment, you know, caused by, you know, tightness in my hamstrings, my butt cheeks, my hip flexors, my adductors, you know. And I wanted to show you guys the routine that was helping me out around that time. Basic dynamic stretching and then some static stretching with bands, and boom, you know, that definitely helped me out for sure. And I know if this helps at least one person out, then I did my job. But as soon as I get to the gym, and well, y'all see. All right guys, for this mobility session I'll be beginning with dynamic stretching. And this first movement is you first begin by protracting your shoulders, meaning you just round your back, think like a black cat, and then you're just trying to put your butt on your heels, so you're just sitting back and you're just holding just long enough and for you to feel the stretch in your lower back, and then you're coming forward and retracting your shoulder blades as hard as you can, and you just perform anywhere from 10 to 30 reps. You do this by feel pretty much. It's not so much about the reps, it's pretty much how it makes you feel, because you will feel some change. And then the next move is I just do this dynamic hip flexor stretch. It's kind of similar to the lizard with rotation stretch, except I'm not doing that rotation. I'm just bringing my leg up, doing like a couple of pumps. It kind of looks like I'm humping the air, but you know, whatever. It's a really good way to stretch out the hip flexors. You know, don't knock it till you try it. But yeah, this is one of the things that I would do to warm up my hip flexors. And then I would also do this dynamic hip flexor stretch where I'm just getting in there and then coming out of it. And with that back leg, I'm pressing down against the ground as hard as I can to keep tension, well, create and keep tension as much as I can, so you're actually getting the benefit of the stretch. You're not just going back and forth like a jackass. It's all about the intent. You gotta know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And of course, you gotta get both sides. You can't do one without the other. And again, you know, 10 to 30 reps, all these movements, it's all feel based. There's no certain amount. It doesn't really matter. You don't really think, because I don't really think at this point. But of course, if I did have to put a number on it, you know, at least 10 minimally before you switch. Of course, anything below 10 is just pointless. And then up to 30, because, you know, I mean, there's no, it's kind of impossible for it to be considered too much. And then these next things I started doing is these glute bridges. So first thing, with my hands, I'm pressing against the ground to keep tension with my upper body, and I shouldn't have picked my head up like I did. You know, that's bad on my part. But again, you want to keep your head down and you're just squeezing your glutes to the top, pressing through your heels, and you're opening up with your hips. So you're thinking to press out with the knees. Again, and you're squeezing your butt cheeks as hard as possible. And then you do the same thing, but then you do like a figure 4 type deal. You'll feel the stretch completely different. It may be challenging. Again, there's no certain amount. I would say with these, get at least 5 minimally, and then 5 to 10, you no more than 20. And then of course you do the same thing with the other side. Next was a dynamic hamstring stretch. All what I'm doing is I'm extending my leg, and then I forgot in the beginning, as you just saw, but what I'm doing is going from plantar flexion to dorsiflexion, meaning I just go from pointing my toes to pointing my toes towards my face / pointing my heels. And you will feel the difference in your hamstrings and your calves. And I'll just do about 10, again, 10 to 30. And once I'm done with this leg, I'm going to do it with the other leg. after that dynamic warm-up, you know, you can foam roll. So with this foam roller, what you want to do is get your adductors, position yourself like so, and you're just gonna hold it. And what you can do is for reps, flex your leg on it like so, like doing a leg extension. Do that at 4 different spots of the adductors. You can then start off by sitting on it, and then after, you know, 10 to 30 second holds, you just roll up and or pretty much go from the bottom of your glute going towards the knee, start foam rolling the hamstrings, but you don't want to be rolling it out, you want to just be holding it, right? Do the same thing for the IT band. You know, I'm not going to demonstrate that. That's just what you would do if you need to foam roll, all right? But what I do want to show y'all are the static stretches that I did. All right, so we're gonna first stretch out these adductors because that can then compromise, you know, the hip flexors, you know, in terms of snapping the hips up. And what I mean by that is it's gonna get your shit misaligned, you know, when shit stays tight. So what you're gonna do is use your gains, put the band around the arch of the foot, and if you don't have bands, then you can do the stretches without bands, but it's real beneficial if you do invest in some bands. Put your butt against the wall, like so. Throw your legs up. And then you're gonna pull the bands apart, and then you're gonna chill here. And you also want to think to externally rotate your hips, so you're trying to put the pinkies of your toes, or the pinkies of your feet against the wall, right? You're really feeling this stretch. Hold it for 2 minutes, all right? And then, after that stretch, what I would then do is you get a thick ass band. What is that? An inch? Something like that. Half inch, I don't know. But it's a thick ass band. You're gonna then put it around your knees. Like so, right? And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna put your feet up against the wall, and you wanna make like a right angle with your feet. It doesn't have to be necessarily exactly 90 degrees, but about a right angle. So right now, that's not it for me. I press away until I feel like, you know, my lower back pressed against the ground. And from then on, I make sure at first both of my toes are straight. That's gonna mean you're, you know, in alignment. And then we're just gonna cross this over, like so. And then with this knee, we're gonna make it go to the outside, and I'm pressing this knee forward. And I hold each side for 2 minutes. So I do this side, and then, of course, I do this side. And it's not meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be very uncomfortable, but that's how that's gonna get better. All right? Now, I'll show y'all some more stretches. The next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna tie this thick ass band along some sort of post, right? And then after that, tie this knot right here. What you're gonna do is step through the band like so, and pull it all the way up the groin like so, right along that hip flexor. And what you do to this side, obviously you do with the other side. So what we're gonna do is first make sure we're feeling a good amount of tension from the band. Right here is for me. So I'm gonna take 2 steps to the outside. 1, 2. And then the first stretch what we're gonna do is a lizard stretch. So we're having this knee all the way down. We're pressing, making tension with this leg, just like what we were doing with the dynamic hip flexor stretch. And then all we're going to do is try to put this same elbow next to that heel. As low as we can go, this is as low as I can go. We chill here for 2 minutes, all right? You do that for each side, and then the next stretch what I do is a pigeon stretch. So all that is, I bring this leg down. Let me scoot a little bit forward, create more tension. This leg all the way down, this back leg straight. This butt cheek is on the floor. And then all I'm doing is trying to put my chest onto the turf. Just like so, and you're gonna feel the stretch. You hold each stretch for 2 minutes. That's gonna give you plenty of time and plenty of stretching volume, because chances are you don't stretch regularly compared to the amount of times you lift weights. So that's the reason why you're stretching for what feels like 20 years. So, alright, so quick overview. So, you warm up with some dynamic stretching, just like what I showed you at the beginning, and I did the little voiceover. And then, of course, you can foam roll after that. If you do have time, you know, all the time in the world, I would suggest that you do foam roll the adductors, your hamstrings, your IT band, your glutes. You can foam roll everything if you really want to. And then, of course, using the bands if you got them, but stretch out your adductors. You can also stretch out your hamstrings by keeping your legs straight on that wall stretch as well. And then, after that, you stretch out the piriformis. That's like pretty much you would think your butt, right? And then, of course, with the bands tied to the weight tree, you do the lizard stretch, and then you do the pigeon stretch. And those are the stretches that I did. I did those dynamic stretches and those exact static stretches. And over time, of course, you know, also made sure I was strengthening my obliques, my abdominals, my lower back, and the quadratus lumborum, the QL, pretty much I've talked about that. I mentioned that in a previous video. But yeah, those are the things that I did, and eventually back pain went away. And of course, I feel stronger and I feel more in tune with my body. But let me know if this routine helped you guys out. Again, if you like the video, like the video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep more content coming your way. Thank y'all. Bye.